mamas, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Cass. Today we are going to, if you see me looking down, it's because I have a list here, okay? I don't want to forget anything because I feel like all of these things that I have written down are very important. So 10 things I wish I knew before I started breastfeeding. So I gave birth to my daughter August of 2022. She is about 16 months now, and I breastfed her from day one till she was a little bit over a year. So I did a full year of breastfeeding, and it was a journey. Okay, breastfeeding was such a journey, and while I was pregnant I did hear a lot about how breastfeeding can be difficult, and I just didn't realize how difficult it would be. A lot of things really go into breastfeeding, and I wasn't quite aware because my mother did breastfeed all three of us, my siblings and I, and I guess it was a very different experience for her than it is. So if you don't know, I'm Zimbabwean. When my mom had us, she was in Zimbabwe, and I guess things over there are just very different when it comes to breastfeeding. There are things that we do out here in Canada that are quite different from what my mom experienced when she was breastfeeding when she was in Zimbabwe. So, but we'll get into that. So I guess certain things she just wasn't familiar with. That's why I didn't get to know about. But, whew. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing that I did not know about breastfeeding is that milk might take some time to come in. So when I was pregnant in my third trimester, I did start noticing a little bit of whiteness on my nipples, which was a sign of like, oh, the milk is coming in. So I thought as soon as the baby comes, then the milk is gonna come in right away, but that is not the case. So first you get colostrum. So after my daughter was born, my midwives showed me how to get started on breastfeeding, showed me how to latch the baby on, which was really, really amazing. And I also had help from my mom as well, who was at the hospital with us. She also helped me with that, helped with the baby latching, and she latched on really quick, really easily, which I was really happy about, because that is one of the things that I had heard, that sometimes it's hard for some babies to latch on. So lucky enough, that wasn't an issue for us, and I was really, really grateful for it. But yeah, I remember the first day it was all colostrum. There was no milk at all. And I remember a nurse. So I'm gonna get into the whole midwife and nurse thing that happened with my delivery. I did have a midwife throughout my pregnancy, but I did give birth at the hospital. So I only had my midwives at the hospital with me the day that I gave birth. But as the day went on in the evening, mine and my daughter's care was now in the nurses. It was not the nurse's care. And so I had a nurse come in and suggest that, oh, since your milk hasn't come in yet, you might want to start on giving baby formula. And I was like, oh, but it's only been like a few hours. Doesn't it, like, you know, take a little bit for the milk to come in or anything like that? But anyways, after the nurse left, my mom is like, don't worry yourself, don't stress yourself about this. So this is why it's good to have like a good support system, because if I didn't have that, I probably would have just been like, oh, okay, fine, let's just do formula. Not that there's anything wrong with doing formula, because if that's something that I needed to do, then I definitely would have done it. But I wanted to breastfeed, I wanted to. So I wanted to make it work. And sure enough, the next day when we got discharged to go home, my milk came in. So if I had just rushed to be like, oh, I'm not getting any milk, let's just go ahead with the formula, I wouldn't have gotten the chance to breastfeed my daughter, and which was something that I wanted to do. So that's one thing. Milk takes time for some women. I'm sure some women it comes in a lot quicker, but for someone like me, it did take almost 24 hours for the milk to actually come in. So that's one thing. Next thing is you need to get a good nursing bra. I actually got nursing bras while I was pregnant because my breasts started getting really big and my bras no longer fit anymore during pregnancy. So I was like, well, if I'm gonna buy bras, like let me just get the nursing bras because this is what I'm gonna use once baby comes. So I got my nursing bras on Amazon. I'll link them up at the bottom if I find the exact ones that I have. And honestly, I'm not breastfeeding anymore, but guess what? I still wear them. They're so comfortable. So you do need to get, if you're breastfeeding, you need to get a good, supportive, comfortable nursing bras. Not nursing bra, one that is like really easy for you to get access. And speaking of access, another thing that is really important with breastfeeding is making sure that you wear clothing that you can easily access so that you can breastfeed your baby. Especially if you are out and about, because it can get annoying. You don't want to be like, taking off, clothes and, trying to, it's just too hectic. Okay. So try find clothing, like something like this that I'm wearing would be awful for breastfeeding unless you're planning on pulling your shirt all the way up, which is not really, realistic. So yeah, try your best to find like comfortable, stretchy clothes that you can easily access for breastfeeding. The next thing I would say would be breast pads. Oh my gosh. So once my milk started coming in, it really started coming in, okay? I was soaked. So I had to get breast pads, which I would put in my bra and honestly looking back, I'm like, I should have got like one of those like ladybug, those Haka ladybugs, especially in the beginning when I was leaking a lot. But yeah, I got the breast pads. I would link the one that I used. I actually had started with one brand and then switched to the next one because I didn't like the first brand that I used. So I'll link the second one, which is the one that I did like. So those are really helpful, especially at night when you're sleeping. It's going down, okay? It is going down. So you definitely need those, especially if you're someone that leaks a lot, especially in the beginning, for sure, in the beginning stages of pregnancy. The next thing I would say is, which kind of ties into the whole like breast pads thing, because when I was pregnant, I really missed sleeping on my stomach, okay? One of the first things I was excited about was to sleep on my stomach. But guess what? I could not sleep on my stomach after giving birth, even after I recovered. So obviously, right after giving birth, there's pain there. So you probably don't want to sleep on your stomach anyways. But after I had healed, my stomach had healed, I still could not sleep on my stomach. And do you know why? Because of my boobs, okay? My boobs were so freaking huge. That's one thing. They were so freaking huge. Sleeping on them, very uncomfortable. And the biggest thing, breast milk. If I slept on my stomach, on my boobs, I would leak even more. So it just wasn't doable. For a while, I could not sleep on my stomach. It took a few months when my milk finally regulated, because a lot of the times when you first start breastfeeding, not for everybody, but I think this happens to a lot of women, where you're getting more than you actually need and you have more leaking happening, but eventually it kind of regulates depending on how much your child is breastfeeding. So that's that. And then another thing with breastfeeding would be, I don't know if I mentioned this, but if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. I think I did mention that at the beginning. But yeah, the next thing I would say is one of the things that I experienced when I was breastfeeding was cracked nipples. Boy, oh boy. Um, that really hurts. Cracked nipples really hurt because it's not like you can just be like, well, you know, I'll just stop, and then when I'm healed, then I can start breastfeeding again. Because the thing with breastfeeding is that if you take a break from it, or even if it's like for a day, it actually affects your milk supply. So you can't really do that unless you've just decided that, okay, I'm no longer going to breastfeed anymore. But if you still want to continue with breastfeeding, honestly, the only thing that I can tell you is that if your nipples are cracked, you just need to soldier through it, okay? They have those like nipple creams that you can use that they really do help. But honestly, all I can tell you is that you just have to soldier through it. It freaking hurts, it really does, but it will pass. It'll pass. You just have to soldier through it. That's what I had to do. I was lucky enough, I only experienced it twice. The first time was early on when I first started breastfeeding. In the beginning, like I would say like the first like week, my nipples cracked. And then the second time that I experienced it was maybe a few months in, but that was because I had started, I think they call it like super pumping, and I did it wrong and it caused my nipples to crack. So yeah, that really sucked. So I only experienced it twice, which is not too bad. I know some women experience it throughout the whole thing, but don't be discouraged. It will pass. You can get through it if you want to. If you decide that you're not really into it anymore, this hurts too much, then that's okay too. Honestly, it's fine. The next thing I have here is pumping in between feeds. So if you're someone that maybe does not have as much of a supply, I would say that pumping in between feeds is something that does really help with increasing your milk supply. So the thing with milk supply is that the more your baby is feeding, which could be the pump as well, it stimulates more milk. So if you're feeding your baby every hour or every 2 hours, your body thinks, okay, the baby needs more milk, let's produce more milk. So pumping definitely helps with like pumping in between feeds. So let's say you feed your baby and they're done, right? And then right after you're done with feeding your baby, you start pumping, right? So that sends a signal that, oh, the baby is still feeding, the baby still needs milk. Even if you don't get a lot of milk with the pumping, but this is just a way to continue the stimulation for your body to think that it does need to supply more milk, which then gives you more milk, if that is something that you're looking for. I had a really good hands-free breast pump, which I will also link at the bottom. I loved it. I honestly think having a hands-free breast pump is like the best thing ever, because it allowed me to be able to, if I'm pumping, if I had chores to do around the house, I could do that. If I had to carry my baby, I could do that. So I really liked having a hands-free breast pump. That's one of my baby shower gifts that I got from my in-laws. So I really appreciated it. Another thing that I really loved using when I was breastfeeding was silicone pump. So like I was using the Haka brand. I'll link that at the bottom as well. I absolutely love the Haka. So if you don't know what a Haka is, it's like a silicone pump, like a manual pump. Basically what you do is that you attach it to the one side while you're breastfeeding your baby on the other side. So when your baby is breastfeeding, usually the other side has letdown. So what the Haka does is that not only does it catch the letdown, but it also stimulates because it suctions onto your boob. So It also gives the illusion that maybe another baby is, is feeding on the other side. So that's basically what it does. So I would feed my baby on the one side, and then attach the hugger on the other side, and I would always get so much milk on the other side, which also helped with stimulation to get more supply. Yeah, so that's the hugger pump. Absolutely loved it. Another thing that I have on here would be a neck pillow. This is something that I didn't hear a single person talk about. So when I was breastfeeding my daughter in the middle of the night, I found it that I was, sometimes you're feeding your baby, you're so tired in the middle of the night, and you kind of start to fall asleep. The next thing you know, you're waking up, your neck is all, crooked and all, and sore, and you're like, oh, this really sucks. So a neck pillow, just like those pillows that you use, like let's say you're flying or something, just put your neck pillow on while you're breastfeeding. If you happen to fall asleep, then your head and neck is supported. So that's definitely another thing I would say is a really, really good thing to have if you're going to be breastfeeding. And then nursing pillows. For me, I would say the best thing that I did was get a large nursing pillow. If you can, get a large nursing pillow. Because the thing that happens, the first one that I had was small. So I found myself like arching for me to be able to breastfeed my baby, which was really, really bad for my back. So with getting a bigger nursing pillow, and let's say, for example, you have it up here and your baby is up here, you don't have to, bend your back in order to feed your baby. You can still sit up straight while you're breastfeeding your baby, because you want to protect yourself, you want to protect your back, make sure that you still keep a good posture, because you don't want to add any more issues. There's already a lot going on, you don't want to add on to it. And let's see. And I think that's it, guys. I think that's all the 10 things that I have on here. I think I kind of bounce back and forth and things like that. But yeah, I think that's all of the stuff I had on my list there. I wanted to know what are things that you wish you knew before you started breastfeeding or during your breastfeeding journey or whatever the case may be. I'm excited to know. I know I'm like past the stage of breastfeeding. We're done breastfeeding now. But, I'm someone that always wants to learn, and hopefully, in the future, if we have another child, I can still keep that information in my memory bank. So I'd like to know. Anyways, guys, this is the end of the video. I hope you learned a few things from this video, and if any of you ladies have any information, any tips or tricks that you have and would like to share, just go ahead and put it in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the comment section and in the next video as well. So you guys have a great day, and see you then. Bye.